What's up, guys? My name is Anthony. I am here with Sam. We are going to go over his stellar run that he just had at Motor City Mayhem with Blood Angels, something that some people, looking at you, Art of War, that isn't Jack, sometimes ride as a not super competitive faction, but we are here to tell you that is not the case. I'm a big Blood Angels fan from when I very first started. I've been talking to Sam a whole bunch since we met at the event, and he was super great, and he did really well, which helps. So I figured it would be good to give him a platform or a larger platform to talk about how he did it and how we got there. As for this is one of these like special one-off shows. I did one of these fairly recently with Mike Butler to break down Light Harlequins when that was a thing that was running rampant in the meta because we were at the same event, and I figured getting a little bit more spotlight on that so that people could know what to look out for would be good. With you placing really well at Motor City, and in general, the Blood Angels making a bit of a resurgence, I think this will be a good way for people to learn, what they can expect when they put Blood Angels on the table. As I don't know if you've experienced this, but I definitely have. People tend to underestimate us and then walk into us and get blasted. Oh, yeah. So trying to avoid that for our listeners so that they know what's up, and for any aspiring Blood Angels players so that they can get into the game, at the highest level possible. We'll break it down and run through the event. Sam, do you want to introduce yourself? Anything you're on? Feel free to use this time to plug things.
Yeah, no, again, thank you so much for having me on. Super honored and flattered to be here. My name's Sam Procopio. I'm a competitive player from Canada, in the province of Ontario. So we've got a pretty great meta going on over here with, I want to say, 90% of the top players from Canada, being in this location. So it's been a really tough meta to kind of be brought up into, but also I guess a huge reason for, I can't, put my success on anything but, the people around me and the community that surrounds me. So, big shout out to the group I'm surrounded by. Fortunately, I've been able to, in my short period of time, be able to make the reserve team for Team Canada, which is, been an honor as well. And again, great to be around those minds, as they're just awesome guys to be around and just great players in general. Like in terms of where I'm currently at now, I'm just kind of pushing through. I recently started a YouTube channel just to kind of help grow the Blood Angel community a bit. Obviously, there's a couple of great people in the community, but it's called Sanguinius 40K for anyone who wants to check it out.
That's awesome.
So, the basis of the channel, and obviously Anthony and I will dive into that today a bit more, is basically for those people who are feeling down on Blood Angels. I'm kind of trying to be the voice, or at least like the proof that, when you put the work in, you can definitely get the results out of them. It just does take time. I can't stress that hard enough, but that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I definitely there was a pretty stark difference from when I first started Blood Angels to where I was at by the end, because most people credit my breakout season as the season I played Drukhari on, but I very technically played an ITC season before that, but it was just during COVID because I was going to basically only RTTs. But I played that whole year as Blood Angels. So the difference between the starting point and the end point as Blood Angels is real different as you learn the combat tricks, the movement setups, the target priority of the charges. Something that we should probably mention is that you and I play the game very differently.
Yes, we do.
Sam is a much more reserved player as opposed to me having violence literally right in the center of my name. So it's part of the game plan, it's part of who I am, and it's what I do. Sam is much more reserved. You can watch a couple of his games on the War Games live stream for both of them, right? From Motor City?
War Games live, and as well as the Death or Glory stream as well.
Oh, okay, you're on both. Nice. Yeah. So yeah, I've been linking those to people when they ask me, like some examples of Blood Angels play. So let's get into the meat and potatoes of things. So going into the event, what were you planning to run? What did you end up running? Was there anything that was like a model constraint and that's why it ended up in the list? Or like, were you mostly running what you wanted to be?
Yeah, so just really high level from a list point of view. And it actually really starts right at the beginning, right from when the Codex Blood Angel supplement came out. Yep. I started to try and find all the best combinations right from the get-go because I know it's my one and only faction I played. For those of you who don't know out there, I mean, like a lot of top players tend to even like dabble into other armies. I'll tell you right now, I actually have never piloted another army. I've never thought of it. I've only ever ran Blood Angels, so that's just kind of my only bread and butter.
Oh
So yeah, super proud son of Baal over here.
yeah.
Um, but anyway, basically, right from the get go, I kind of established this interesting. I'd want to, and I was even explaining to Anthony as well prior to this. Basically, I want to say 1,400 to 1,500 points of this core that I felt like it played the game. Back when Ninth Edition pretty much first started, and I enjoyed the way that it was able to approach the game. Now, obviously, the GT mission packs changed the approach. What secondaries you're building into your lists, of course, all the other armies that came out along the way to throw tons of wrenches into my plans, but
Yes.
that kind of goes without being said. But basically, going back to this core, that's kind of where this whole list design came from, and kind of what is me at my core. And I started to learn very quickly by having this core of not only favorite units, but essentially how the army approaches the board. I learned a lot about my playstyle and what I actually want to see and how my game develops over the course of a 5 turn game. And a big thing that I do want to mention is that's a big key for me is I'm planning for 5 turns. I'm not someone who, as Anthony Violence Vanilla mentions, could probably end a game by turn 3, and that's obviously great, but that's actually just doesn't play into my planning and my game style. But obviously that's kind of to each his own and
Yep.
how people want to play their 40k. But going into this event now, I had that same pretty much 1,400 to 1,500 points of my core that I established for, I guess you can say, 18 to 20 months now,
Right.
which is a lot of practice and a ton of reps. I don't even want to put a number on it, but it would shock some people maybe,
Yeah.
but definitely well practiced with it. And then pretty much it was a matter of, okay, what am I walking into? And obviously the big boogeyman in the room, Tyranids. Then
Yep.
obviously secondary, Hail of Doom Eldar, Harlequins, and then also you couldn't neglect armies such as Tau, and then a couple of armies that had a great resurgence as of late, such as Thousand Sons and Grey Knights. So
Yep.
Space Marines are an army that I like to consider themselves a great toolbox army, but I feel like just in recent times they're I'm not really sure the terminology for it, but they're basically not they're masters of none, but just
Right.
able to do quite a bit. So you can't really tailor your army to play into all 5 or 6 of them. You do have to leverage your player skill, is what I've learned by building my list
Yeah.
and kind of where I started. And then from there, you can adapt a little bit by little into what meta you're going into. And that's kind of was the key going into it with my list.
Yeah, Space Marines don't have quite the same raw power that a lot of the other stuff have. You can definitely get like if you try and like go head to head. Though this applies less to Blood Angels because they have so much actual just killing
They
power.
do,
But
yeah.
a lot of the Space Marine chapters really struggle if they try and go like head to head with like Tyranids. If you try and put your intercessors into Tyranid warriors, it's a really sad experience.
Yeah.
Um, but there's
Exactly.
there's definitely a lot of play options still, like you said. So that was cool. Sounds good. So let's run through the games. So walk me through your first one.
Yeah. So first game, and actually, Anthony, you can attest to this. It was a pretty funny start because we got paired, and then we
Yep.
got repaired.
And then we got paired one more time.
One more time. So, and at first I got paired into Tau, and I was feeling a little good about it because I had a lot
Mhm.
of practice into Tau. We have a couple of really great Tau players in our meta up here in Ontario, so
Right.
was okay with the matchup. But then of course I got paired into a matchup that I'm not fully comfortable with, which is Custodes.
Yep.
And I'm not sure, by the way, if I'm allowed to mention people's names or whatnot, but
Yeah. Yeah. That's fine.
yeah, so I played a gentleman by the name of Kyle Vanderby. So shout out to Kyle. That guy was awesome.
Mhm.
Super relaxed. I told him I'm relaxed. We had a great game. And funny enough, when I didn't even look at the list. I just kind of saw there was gold, from far as I was rushing to the new table that I was paired at. And then in my head, I'm like, you know what? As long as there's not a lot of bikes, I think we'll be okay. And sure enough, not
Yep.
only was he running emissaries, but he was running 17 bikes. So I said, this should be fun.
Woo!
So getting charged by 6 bikes turn one that can move 28 inches in charge was definitely a new experience, but one that I prepared for. And
Yeah.
we won't dive into every matchup too much, but I was able to turn that one around, recover some early losses, and actually pull out the win, taking over turn three through 5 and winning 91 to 67.
Nice. Yeah, custodians are mortal now, so we can
Yeah,
actually hurt them, which helps a whole bunch, as it
yeah,
turns out. The Blood Angels, wound them kind of weird, and their invuln messes with the math a little bit, but you just make them
Yeah.
take enough raw saves that they do kind of
Oh,
eventually just die.
sure. Oh, actually,
um,
highlight in that game was the people who looked at me with the third eye. This is to all the haters out there that saw the eradicators and like, what do they do in the list? Well, they overwatched and killed two bikes on the way in. Okay,
ah!
it was wild. Sorry, Kyle. Sorry, Kyle.
Oh man, that would have drove me nuts.
Yeah, it was wild.
All right, so
All
the
right.
next game he played a gentleman by the name of Josh. He played,
Yeah,
it looked like, some Raven Guard. Oh, this was the guy
yeah.
that scored 100 round one with Raven Guard, right?
He told me he's been practicing quite a bit and he's been getting hundreds and tabling people,
Yep.
quite often. So I
Yep.
mean, looking forward to that one, I guess.
Yeah.
Hey, I got warmed up by getting charged by 600 points of bikes game one, so I figured what's
Yeah.
1,500 points of Raven Guard on turn one too,
Yeah,
right?
it can't be that bad.
So we set up and we knew if he went first on that mission, we played Data Scry Salvage. We knew
Mm.
that if he went first, the game could go south regardless of player skill. It's just one of those things.
Yep.
When an alpha strike like that's built into a list, and lo and behold, he did go first. So little bit of a yikes moment there,
Yeah.
but like I said, I always prepare for the worst, and I think that's not to go off topic, but that's something people really need to keep in mind. You need to prepare for your opponent to have so many things go their way, and just build that into a strategy. So he went first. I essentially was able to screen out my important units, and I gave him what I wanted him to kill, which I knew I'd be
Right.
taking losses. And in hindsight, I talked with a few of the Team Canada guys afterwards, and I
Mhm.
said, "Oh yeah, all I lost was X, Y, Z," and they're like, "Man, that's like a third of your army." But it's just like that's the third that I could actually part with.
Right. Like you can afford to get rid of.
I can 100% afford. So then on bottom of turn one, I was actually able to pick up all 30 Vanguard veterans, all 10 Relic Terminators, and all three characters.
Ah.
So I
So
mean,
he
the
just
game
died.
the game turned around, unfortunately, for him in my favor very quickly, and we kind of were able to talk it from there.
Right, because
Um,
well, after that, I mean, that's well over 1,000 points of his dudes.
oh yeah, I think it was 1,400. Yeah, it was rough, but
Yep.
but
That's a
the unfortunate part though, I was upset because I looked at him and I was like, no, and he's like, man, he's like, what's wrong? Like you just smoked me, and I was like, I killed all your characters, so I can't interrogate anymore. Such a rookie move. I saw the black rage took over me, and I just went for it.
Yeah, you just killed everybody.
Yeah, unfortunately. So that one wrapped up at 81-56 because I lost 15 secondary points.
Yeah, yeah, you were just like, "We don't need those. That's a later
Yeah, it's
problem."
fine. Yeah.
Alright, cool. Oh, in the third round, you played Brian Horton. I know Brian really well. He's super nice.
He
He
was
TOs a
awesome.
bunch of events. He's a really great dude. So how'd that game go?
So yeah, Brian again. Anthony took the words out of my mouth. Super, super great guy. We were both pretty tired after a
Oh,
couple of
yeah.
rounds, and we were just like, hey, let's help each other out. I'm someone who's a big supporter of playing the game the right way, as I call it, and
Yep.
making sure everything is just handled the right way. No gotcha moments. If someone doesn't know, letting them feel
Yeah.
good about things at all times. So we had a great game from that standpoint. We were playing the Scouring,
Yeah.
so very close
Woo.
with Tyranids,
Yeah. You are
and
right there.
and we're right there. He's running Leviathan. I was not looking forward to it, but I would actually was interesting for a lot of people maybe listening is I know I found some success against Tyranids, but believe it or not, this was actually my first game playing into Unids in general. So probably for the better, in my
Right.
opinion, because I was playing super conservative, even more conservative than I normally would play. So I was able to really pace the tempo of this game and just leverage some skill that I have with my army within it, and I
Mhm.
was able to basically isolate units at certain points that maybe Brian didn't really expect, just because when you hear Blood Angels, you hear running at me and fighting,
Yep.
right? But what I learned about the tempo of Tyranids is a lot of different units, are moving at much different paces on their
Yeah.
side of the board,
Yep.
right? Especially when you're running Leviathan Tyranid warriors versus like a Hive Tyrant versus Harpies. Like it's all very paced at a different tempo is what I learned. So if you can take that army apart piecemeal, that's kind of where I started to find my success throughout the course of the weekend into Nids. So
Yeah.
again, just summarizing quick, I was able to deny him a bunch of points here and there. I was able to just keep leveraging a lead that I built up early on, and I was actually able to pull it out 93-70.
Nice. What'd you take for your secondaries against him? Because Brian's list is built kind of weird, so he doesn't super give up anything great. Like he kind of gives up no prisoners. He like
Yeah,
sort of gives up assassinate if he can get to them.
I'm pretty sure, and again, I'm pretty sure off the top of my head, I think it was Oath of Moment, Stranglehold, and Retrieve Knockman Data.
Oh, okay, cool.
So I
Yeah,
think
because you have
Knockman
3
Data,
units.
yeah, the reason why I got a 93 was because I missed one Knockman Data pretty much. That's all,
Makes sense.
unfortunately.
I mean,
Yeah.
that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a compounding thing that tends to happen with Tyranids. If you don't like set it up correctly on the Nid side, it's very easy to have like one unit that just goes all the way over there, and then everybody else is back here, and your opponent's like, okay, cool, and they just kill that thing.
Right.
You have to be really, really, really careful about that when you're playing
You do.
as Nids, and lots of people aren't, so it's really easy to take advantage of that when you're playing against them. Um,
100%.
did you land any crazy sanguinary heroics like into a harpy or anything in this game, or was that a
I
different game when that happened? We were
I
talking
did.
about it.
I did. I think I heroic into about 3 harpies over the course of the weekend. So I
Everyone
mean,
forgets.
and like that's the thing. It's like again, I reminded all my opponents before
Right.
the game. I reminded them as I was moving, hey, this is why I'm doing this. I'm spreading out for this X Y Z. But what I realized a lot of the time was it wasn't them forgetting. It was actually them budgeting to kill the sanguinary guard and
Oh,
under committing because a lot of them haven't shot a harpy into 5 sanguinary guard. And actually, that's the funny part. Everyone stayed away from my 7-man sanguinary guard squads, the 2 of them. But people
right.
would go right next to the 5-man and be like, well, I'm far away from the 7-man. I'm just going to shoot a bunch here. And then lo and behold, they would kill like 1 or
Right.
2. I would CP reroll 1, so I have 4.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, now I'm hitting like whatever it is, 16 attacks for
Yeah.
free on your turn, which is enough to level a harpy if they don't have a 4-up invul.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think a lot of the times people don't realize that it's like if you're in cover with Sanguinary Guard and a
Yes.
heavy venom cannon shoots you, it's a 3-up. Like
Yes.
you're like,
Yeah.
okay.
Exactly. And then it was a bit of a shocking moment just for on their faces, but again, not in a gotcha way. Just
Right.
but hey, after it happened, they made sure they're like, yep, totally outside of 6 every
Yep.
time.
Never doing that again.
Yeah. So it was good though. Good time and thanks Brian for a great game.
Cool. So end of day 3, feeling pretty good. 3-0. Where are you at like mindset wise after day 1?
Yeah, so mindset wise, I was feeling pretty good. I won't lie, obviously, and hide this fact, but I got
Yeah.
a ton of messages from like the entire Ontario community and from Team Canada in general. They were proud of their boy,
Yep.
bringing the flag down and doing decent, right? I mean,
Yep.
it was only half the battle, but it was great to hear the support from them and just keep going mentally, and it's not over till it's over kind of thing. So
Yep.
I knew I had a long way to go, and that day 2, I mean, as we're about to talk about, was only going to get crazy difficult, but
Yeah.
was actually really happy to get that Tyranid game under my belt because, like I said, it was my first rep. But one thing I do want to stress is that, and again, I have to shout out my man on Team Canada, Dustin Henshaw.
Yep.
Him and I, we theorized the entire game of how I'm playing into nids, what my target priority is. I would,
Right.
basically be like, hey man, quiz me. Here's what
Right.
I'm thinking. What are you thinking from a Tyranid standpoint? And he was like, yep, that makes sense. Or you know what, you might want to do this.
Right.
And again, just I know I didn't get those reps in, but even theorizing the matchup and I legitimately at home set up the GW board and
Yep.
practiced how I would deploy into a Kraken build versus how I deploy into a Leviathan build.
Yeah.
So it's like
That part is
that went a long
huge.
way.
Yeah, knowing
Huge,
your
huge.
deployment setups is massive. Very often I'll see people. I think deployment with blood, like it's important with every army, obviously,
Right. Of
but
course.
with Blood Angels, it's huge because you don't really have a redeploy, so you
Right.
can't fix mistakes,
Yep.
and you need to deploy in such a way that if you go first, your death company can be devastating, but
Yep.
also if you go second, you don't immediately lose,
Yep.
and that balance is really tough.
Yeah. That's been the part of my game that I've worked on consistently over the past, you know, year and a half that I've played 40K because I've only
Right.
been playing for about a year and a half to 2 years now.
Yeah, we started at
Um,
like the same time, right?
yeah, yeah. And again, like I mean, shout out to you because that's just incredible.
Switching armies sometimes helps, but
Yeah, a little bit, I guess, but yeah. No, good job. Yeah,
all right, so we're going into round 4. You played against a now former, but still a close friend of mine, a good teammate, TJ
DJ,
Lonigan.
yeah. Yeah, so I mean, again, I always I'm a guy. Maybe I'm too nice. I don't care, but I have to give credit where credit's due. And like a huge helper on this game for me was I messaged my buddy on Team Canada, Nick Blackburn, just
Hmm.
saying like, hey man, he plays T Suns, through and throughout. He's a T Suns guy, so
Right.
he gave me a bunch of pointers about what duplicity can do because I was like, hey man, I'm going to bed right now. I don't have time to stay up until like 2 a.m. to study what duplicity
Right.
do. What can I just wake up to a text from you on
Yeah,
like
can you give me the cliff notes?
and he did, and like I was like, "You are an absolute beauty. I'm gonna buy that man a beer when I see him." But yeah, it deserves it. But no, he just gave me high level what to kind of expect, whatnot, and of course I have played into T Suns before, so knew it would be challenging. And for those of you interested, I know Anthony already mentioned it. This game was streamed on the Death or Glory stream on day two. So I mean, you guys can obviously check that out for yourselves. But it was a super tough game. TJ actually, I was actually more worried about this game because he didn't underestimate Blood Angels, and he kind of knew that Sanguinary Guard could do the Lord's work. And I think that's your fault, Anthony. So
Yeah, that is my fault. TJ is a practice partner of mine. So the
yeah,
reason I don't usually play very close games into Thousand Suns or Chaos in general is because
yeah,
I
of
play TJ all the
course,
time. And I know every ins and out. Every time it's so funny to me too, because like sometimes you'll tag a T Suns unit and be like, oh
right,
well, at least it won't shoot. And then their psychic phase happens and your unit is gone, and you're like,
yeah.
oh,
I guess they're
hmm.
still shooting.
Yeah, this one is gonna shoot. Hmm.
Okay, sounds good. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. So yeah, like the game was super cagey. The things that I was, and again, I don't want to make it sound like, I had a hero game or anything, but my back was against the wall in this matchup because we were playing Abandoned Sanctuaries,
Right.
and I took Strangle, I took Oath, and I took Retrieve. Those are my three that I baked into my list and I built towards.
Yep.
Um, but I knew on Abandoned Sanctuaries in particular, I can't forward deploy to screen things out. I can't Forlorn Fury to do any damage or isolate an area of the board if I need, because that's kind of what I look for.
Yep.
And on top of it all, I know that whoever goes second has an absolutely massive
Yeah.
bonus ability to score so many points end of game.
Yeah, it's like 17 on the
Literally,
primary swing or
yeah,
something like that.
it is literally on the dot. So that's why I was like, you know what? If I can go second with Oath, with that, I think I'm good. We roll off. I go first. Okay.
Ah!
Alrighty.
Yep,
So basically, I knew the onus was on me. That I know if TJ just sits back and plays for that late turn,
yep,
he'll be able to win. So I need to deny when and where I could. And fortunately for me, I had this hero scout unit that you guys can all see on stream that were just holding on for dear life in that storm.
yep,
In the middle of the board for like 3 turns, they lived, got me a bunch of points, and even completed a raw that I had to roll a 1, 2, 3, 4 on because one died and I rolled the 4. So I
Woo!
mean that right there is the game right there because that's a draw if I don't make that roll. So
Yep,
um,
stressful.
but you know what though? I can't stress enough how amazing of an opponent TJ was, and just how thorough he was explaining everything. No
Yep,
gotcha moments on either side. He knew my tricks. I knew his tricks. If one of us forgot, we would remind each other.
right,
Even on the one point when I made a big heroic play that definitely did swing the game,
yep,
his first reaction wasn't like a oh man like I totally forgot or whatever. He was just like that was just lazy on my part. I just
yep,
misplaced them. I thought they'd be dead. Like they should have been because he shot 10 Scarabacol Terminators at a Sanguinary Guard squad, but
yeah,
two lived because they were in cover.
yeah,
And things like that can happen, right? So
yep. I was just
again,
going over,
huge, yeah.
a scenario like that with a coaching client where, like, we were talking
Right,
about putting Sanguinary Guard into the middle, and he was like, "Yeah, but if I'm in cover, I'm gonna get shot." I'm like, "Man, if you put 14 Sanguinary Guard in cover against most armies, they're
right,
gonna kill 4? Maybe?"
right. No, for real. Yeah, like
Yeah.
for real. It's kind of wild. Like I played actually like a league final game. It was on Thursday
Mhm.
against Tau, and I had 7 in cover. He shot at me, and I had against all of his fusion and all of his plasma. I had 4 up saves in cover, and I was like, yeah, I'll,
Yep.
I'll roll those dice.
Yep.
Rolled them, and he killed 3 after a couple of spiked Feel pains, and I was like,
Yep.
well, it happens.
Yeah. It doesn't take the other side of that coin too is that, like, if there's 4 Sanguinary Guard left in a unit, they're totally capable of wiping most other units.
Yes,
Like, you
for
don't
sure.
need everybody to kill units. You have guys baked into those units just as, like, they'll take some casualties on the way in, but 4 Sanguinary
Yep.
Guard will kill most things.
100%. You're pretty much almost taking those extra bodies. That's why I like the 7 and 8 mans for those
Yep.
almost like, in a sense, ablative wounds. But I mean, obviously, I know they're important. You don't want to lose like
Right,
3
yeah,
just
you're
for,
not losing them
fun.
on
But
purpose. Yeah.
yeah, but if you do, they can still do the Lord's work. You bring a guy back, you gain some extra movement, you gain some extra threat range. It's
Yep.
actually quite huge.
Yeah, picking the dude up off the floor and getting the extra threat range and then being like, "Just kidding, that's a 5-man," is brutal.
Oh yeah,
Because in Blood Angels more so almost than other Marine chapters because of the
yeah,
stacking attack volume that you get between Shock Assault and the Super Doctrine and stuff. Like
Right.
when a dude just gets off the floor and they're like, yeah, that guy has 5 attacks. You're like, oh, what? How many?
I know.
Why?
I know. You're like, it doesn't make sense, and you're like, wait, you're doing mortals on the charge to me too? What's going on
Yeah,
here?
yeah, baby. Hammer or Wrath. Everyone always forgets about Hammer or Wrath. Super good into
Everyone always
Phoenix
does.
Lords.
Oh yeah, huge.
That's how you kill those multi-phase jerks.
Yep.
Alrighty, so you finish up with TJ. You go into round 5. You play against Joshua Minnick. Josh is great. I actually really like him.
No, he's a super cool guy. We had a
Yeah,
great game too, and
yeah.
you know what? I will admit, I think there was a little bit of the underestimation factor in that game, and
Mhm.
right from the get go, just because we were doing our pregame talk and whatnot, and not that Josh was underestimating me as a player, but he was underestimating, I believe at least,
Yeah,
how his Kraken Nids could play into my Blood Angels. Because on paper, it shouldn't really be a game.
right.
But obviously that's why we roll dice and that's why we
Yeah,
play the
you
game.
play for
So
a reason. Yep.
yeah, that's why I'm here, right? So so we did play it, and I went first again, which I hate going first. Yeah, who would have thunk that I don't like going first
Yeah,
without the moment, and my defensive style, but
yeah.
yeah, right. But you know
Whereas
what? Yeah,
I,
sorry.
I would be thrilled going for. I'd be like, yes,
I
start
know.
killing those
Yeah,
stupid
you
Ravener
would eat it
units.
up. Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's crazy. I'm probably the only person that doesn't want to go first and do damage with my death company. But yeah. So into Josh, essentially what I did was I knew basically we can keep it a very high level for how the board state was, and we played Tide of Conviction, hold 2, hold 3. It's Dawn of War, so we actually are starting technically closer than we would like to because you can't really deploy as far back as you'd like.
Yep.
So you're forced into these awkward scenarios where you're going to have to, start to interact faster than you'd like to, and he's running Kraken. Um,
Yeah, this is a
also,
scary, scary mission. Tied against
it
Kraken
is.
is like, woo, woo.
Yeah, I had a couple people actually reach out to me and be like, "Well, man, you made a great run, and don't worry." I was like, "Yeah, it's been fun. 4-1 after 5 games isn't
It's
bad for
pretty
my
good.
my first
Yeah.
ever super major." So I was like, "All right, let's just play the game."
Yep.
So lo and behold, I was able to actually, kill a Carnifex turn 1 with my Death Company.
Mhm.
And the reason for me going into him with my Death Company wasn't actually to kill the Carnifex. That was just gravy. It was
Yeah.
actually just because I realized he actually was intelligent on spreading his Maliceptors apart so that he can
Mm.
focus on 2 areas of the board to really inflict bad damage to me.
Yep.
But by doing so, I was actually able to, and if we can kind of visualize this, I was able to essentially move block the one Maliceptor after killing a Carnifex, therefore
Mhm.
keeping it hemmed into its zone, and then the other
Wow.
one being on the other side of the board, much further away from the rest of my army. So he would be
Mhm.
out of the game for at least a turn minimum,
Wow.
even as Kraken. So that buys
Yeah.
me time. And one thing that I know, Anthony, you could definitely appreciate this when you're running an army like Blood Angels, or just any army in general, for those of you who can't really fully relate as a Blood Angel player,
Mhm.
you have to buy yourself time into these top 3 armies. You can't go head to head to them and play the game at their rate because
Yep.
you just burn out, you lose the units. It always feels like you're down 300 points for whatever reason because the points are
Yeah.
always as they are. We're not going to
Not
get into
always
that part.
great. Yeah.
Yeah, always so evenly matched. But yeah, it's just like you really have to slow it down and create your own tempo of game. So that's what I was trying to do there. And then, of course, he undercommitted into my sanguinary guard for killing them again. I
Yep.
heroic into a harpy. He even forgot, and I actually even said to him, I was like, "Hey man, if you genuinely forgot about that," because he said, "Oh man," he's like, "I totally forgot about that." I
Right.
said, "Why don't you
Yeah,
just
just move. Mhm.
move him back, no heroic?" And like literally as I was mid sentence, like, "Why don't you just?" And he's like, "Nope." He's like, "You told me before the game. I forgot. That's shame on me."
Alright.
So I mean, good dude there, I guess. Obviously, we had a great game, and
Yep.
I was like I said, I was just able to play the game at my tempo, slow things down, move block when and where I could, and then we essentially I was able to just pick up all of his monsters by turn 4, and we just essentially saw where the dust settled, and it led me to a 94 to 81 victory.
Nice. Hell yeah. Yeah, people forget that, like, Kraken's really fast, but a lot of the stuff
Yeah,
doesn't have fly, except the Flyrant.
correct,
So, it's
correct.
really easy to just be like, especially on GW terrain where you essentially are working off 3, like, lanes, so to
Yeah,
speak. It's not the easiest thing to do because you have to obviously land kills, but
of course.
it's not that terribly difficult to just be like, "Here's a big line of idiots. You
Yeah,
can't go past it."
yeah. Oh
Um,
yeah, it's huge.
yeah, so that definitely slows and shuts them down. Like you said, it puts the pacing in your favor instead of letting them do whatever they want.
That's the point, right?
Yes. All right, so round 6.
Round six. That was a really fun game for those of you who want to or have watched already. I'm sure you guys saw what happened already, but for those of you who haven't, that was on the War Games live stream, and Joe was Joe has been given headaches all day to get me on stream because I feel like half of what felt like half of Canada was kept on
Yeah.
saying put him on stream, put him on stream.
Yep.
Again, huge shout out to the support there, but that was a game going into again, it was Leviathan Nids, the similar build to kind of what Brian had.
Mhm.
So I essentially got a rep into it. I played the Kraken version. I understand the matchup fully now. With the theorizing I did prior to and in
Right.
preparation.
Mhm.
Also, Manik, great player. The guy was super chill. We had a super relaxed and fun game. No bad moments. No real whatever little things here and there.
Right.
Things come up always all the time, but it's just part of the game that you just work through.
Right.
And obviously you're aware of this, but he was 500 for 500 points going into round six. So
Yeah, he was killing
terrifying.
people.
Oh, terrifying. Yeah. So I mean, we had a bit of a chuckle before the game just because he looked at me and he's like, hey, if I can keep the streak going, I'll do it. And I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna try and give you 99. Like that's my goal in this game. I goes 99 to like 10 with paint. You know what I mean?
1 point.
I can get you 99. I don't even know how it's possible, but I'll try. But no, like it was a really good game. I think because of the results, and I could be misquoting, I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but maybe he saw how I was doing against Tyranids, so he didn't underestimate me at all, and he knew what
Right.
I could do into them, which again didn't work in my favor at all.
Right.
So he knew that he could push when he wanted to, and that was obviously worked in his favor. And as the game sort of progressed, I was creating the tempo that I wanted to. I felt comfortable with it, but there was that point where he just went in with 9 Tyranid warriors, covered the entire objective, and I took Oath, Strangle, and Retrieve, and focusing on Oath and Strangle, where I
Yep.
went in to try and do some real damage, string one guy back to my captain to make him OPSEC, and
Yep.
then I was hoping to pick up 6, and then the 3 that would swing back would pick up maximum 3 out of the
Yeah.
7 because
Right.
I have
Not a
decent
ton.
saves. Not all of them. That's what I
Yeah.
was kind of going for. But I proceeded to only kill 3, and then the 6 swung back and killed all of them. So
Yep.
that was I want to say, 4 points on primary for him, and I lost 2 on Oath, 3 on Strangle, just off of, that quick
Basically the
math.
game. Yeah.
That was the whole game. I think we did talk about it afterwards, and if that play just went as planned for me, I do win the game 96-90. But
Woo.
again, that's why we play the game. It was that close. It was a swing,
Yeah.
and I think I made it closer than even he suspected. And at one point, we actually mistallied the score, and I had me winning by 1 still at the end. But
Ah.
I gave myself 3 too many primary. It was
Ah.
it was 48 primary points, and Joe's like, Sam, you have too many primary points.
And you're like, no.
I was like, no, let me have 48. He's playing Leviathan Nids.
Hey, you get to go to 50 against Leviathan.
Yeah, you get 50. But no, I ended up losing that game 92-94, and I was super proud of being finishing the day 5-1 and
Yeah.
losing to a man of his quality on the table. So that was a great experience.
Yeah. I mean, even like if you think about it from like the WTC perspective for a second, that's still a draw against the
10-10,
best
right?
army in the game.
Yeah, not bad.
That's pretty good.
Not bad. I'll take it.
Yeah. All right. So round 6 finishes. We're
Yeah,
all anxiously waiting for scores to go in.
yeah.
You make top 8 anyway. Woo!
Yeah, and I was like, you know what? That psychic interrogation I got a 0 on is gonna screw me.
Yeah. Yeah. That could have been the
Yeah,
difference.
yeah, literally. So I mean, I was super pumped to find out that I made top 8.
Yep.
I don't know if I mentioned earlier, but this is my first time crossing the border, first super major that I even ever attended with a top 8 involved. So
Yep.
super proud to have been able to finish in the top 8 and keep the dream alive, so to speak.
Yep. Yep.
And then I was paired into a gentleman named Kyle Perry
Yep.
with his light Harlequins, which on paper I actually thought it favored me quite a bit.
Yeah.
But as the game progressed, I think I bit off more than I can chew, and we can obviously talk a bit more about this one just because it
Yeah.
was
We're doing
essentially
great on time, so you can
yeah,
continue.
yeah, we essentially kind of or sorry, I basically I think overcommitted at one point, just because he was going second and I knew he was a very skilled player, so he knew how to play his own tempo.
Mhm.
And that's something you have to factor in is when someone is that good with an army, you can't just hope dice go your way or hope you can make hope he makes mistakes because I'm
Yep.
I'm envisioning this game as he's playing a perfect game. I'm going to try and play my game, maybe not perfect, but when the dust settles, he's going second, he wins this game. So
Right.
what can I do to stop that? And basically what I realized, and maybe it was the wrong time. Hindsight's always 2020. But
Right.
again, for people that want to watch, this was also on Death or Glory stream. I went kind of not all in, but I basically took up the middle of the board with 14 Sanguinary Guard surrounding my
Hmm.
characters, basically saying, "You're not going to kill me, and this is going to be mine. This will be the swing I need in the game, and
Hmm.
that's how it's going to go," kind of thing.
Yep.
So essentially, I stat checked him, and stat check failed because he shot, I want to say, 40 shuriken cannon shots at one squad, and on paper, I think the math works out to me losing 3 to 4. Could be totally
Right.
wrong because I had a feel no pain or something like that. But
Yeah. It's
I
not good
proceeded.
odds to kill a ton of them.
No, no, and that's just only one of the squads, and I still have another 7 man. So
Right. Right.
so it's like I thought I was in a decent spot doing some quick math there. And again, it could always spike up or down. And unfortunately for me, there was one point where he spiked a hit roll with like a squad of the 5 bikes.
Hmm.
And he was like, "Yep, that's going to be 8 saves on your 2 ups and like 3 saves on your at AP AP whatever it was,
Great.
2 or
Yep.
whatever." So it was like, okay, 4 ups. So they weren't in cover. A couple of the guys I was taking it on,
Mm.
and I rolled the 4 ups, failed one of them, and I was like, okay, it's not bad. Made no feel no pain. So I was like, that's okay. I lost one,
Yeah. No big
and I was
deal.
like, eight 2 ups, and then I rolled 4 4s. Sorry, 4 1s. I mean,
Yep.
so that really stung, and I CP rerolled one of them into a one.
Ah.
So it's just like losing 5 right there from one bike squad. I kind of unfortunately knew how the game would proceed to go from there.
Right.
I never give up, never count myself out. So that was just it did sting, and then he ended up proceeding to, I think by the time the turn was over, I think he picked up
Hmm.
11 or 12 out of the 14. So it was a
Yep.
rough turn. And again, I don't blame dice. So I mean, just shame on me for, I guess,
Yeah.
putting
Of course.
myself in that position. That's just a positional thing that I should have thought more through. Like, what if XYZ
Right.
happens to me, and how is the game state going to be? But I did my best to try and claw myself out. But then that's where we go to another mistake I made, which was a rule mistake. Which I don't know if it was fatigue or I don't know what it was, but I kind of misplayed my rule on null zone. And in the moment,
Hmm.
the way null zone worked, for some reason, I thought was too good to be true. so, so I was like, no, I was like in my head, I'm like, there's no way it works like that. It's got to be model for model basis. So I told him that, and we played it like such.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
realistically, what should have happened was I swung with 5 Sanguinary Guard into a squad of 5 bikes, and
Okay.
he was just playing the game the way I was telling him it worked. So nothing to do with him. But he's like, yeah,
Right.
so the one guy that's not within null zone range is just going to keep on taking saves until he dies, right? Which is
Mm.
not how it works. But he ended up,
Right.
of course, spiking in this scenario, like 8 saves on that one guy before he fell, and
Right.
leaving 4 bikes fully alive to just basically harass my table, my zone, and everything. But what really
Yep.
should have happened was the whole unit was under effect from null zone.
Right. So
So
you would have had to pull out until that guy was left, and
so
then
he
he could
gets
take
no saves
him.
because I'm at AP4 on these guys. That means it would
Right.
have been
Yeah.
4 bikes actually just die, and then the last guy
Yep.
makes 2 saves, which in theory he doesn't die anyway. But 1 bike left versus 4 bikes left
Four.
is a very
Yeah.
different game, in my opinion.
Yeah. 100%.
So again, I don't know if that was enough to swing the game. It just, again, just beating myself up after. I'm sure we're always going to be our hardest
Oh
critic,
yeah.
but I
Yeah.
was like, why would I think that? I was like, I should have just took 4 seconds to just check the book. But hey,
Yeah.
you live and learn. A couple rookie mistakes with the psychic interrogation play, the null zone play.
I mean, if you have two
Yeah.
major misplays and 7 rounds of play, including a top 8, that's pretty much fine, right?
I
Can't be too mad
I
about that.
I guess it definitely was a successful event. But yeah, that saw me, bow out of the event, going technically 5-2, obviously, but 0-1 in the
Right.
top 8, and finding myself landing in a sixth spot with a loss to Kyle. I think it was 75 to 86 for him.
Okay. Cool. So yeah, seems like a fucking hell of a run, man. Like obviously
Yeah, it was
that's
fun.
great. Where does that put you for the ITC ranking for Blood Angels?
Yeah,
Are you
actually,
right now?
yeah, I gave it a quick look yesterday, just 'cause I figured why not understand where I'm at, because I figured we would talk about it. But I was able to be currently ranked number one in Blood Angels in the world, number one in
Yeah,
Canada, then of
baby.
course. And yeah, I'm just trying to play my best for best in faction. Also, a really cool achievement at this event. I won best Angels of Death, which was also really cool. That was a cool trophy because there's actually some really great, really good Space Marine players in that room. So it was good to achieve that.
Yep.
But yeah, just at the end of the day, my goal is to just be best in faction Blood Angels. I won't hide that. That's just they're my
Yeah.
babies, and I
What
love
you're
them.
there for. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So you know what I mean. So even if I didn't finish, like in a great standings overall in the world or whatnot, that's just I guess that's a secondary thing. Obviously, I'll push to do my best, but
Yeah. That's
that is
gravy.
my
You're here for the best in
yeah
faction.
exactly. That's kind of my goal for the season.
Yeah, that was my approach last season. I just wanted best in faction Drukhari. That was all I cared about. I wanted to be the best of the broken. That was my single-minded focus.
Did you get it?
Um,
I don't recall.
I did. I won by
Hey,
point 0.6 at
oh,
LVO.
well
I beat
done,
Sean by point 0.6 points,
well done,
which
man.
how the ITC works, that's like real narrow. That's like one
Oh wow,
placing.
literally. I was gonna
Um,
say
yeah, I think I literally won because I won my shadow round game, and Sean didn't get to the shadow, and that was like
probably it.
I won right there. That was like all
Right,
it took. But
that's
I had to do
crazy.
that. I had to go through Lucas, who's a member of this network, who's really good. Like that was
Right,
a rough, that could have went sideways, but yeah, I did end up getting it. So
great job.
that was pretty wild. Um, yeah. So you had a great event. You did really well. Would you change
Fortunately.
anything?
So yeah, so I'm someone who very much focuses on the mission pack I'm playing into. So I'm always open to changing things, but like I said, I like to keep that 1400 to 1500 of my core together at all times,
Yep.
unless the game gets so shaken up or whatever that requires a big revamp. Which fortunately I haven't had to see too many crazy changes in my list.
Right.
But with that being said, it's like I do have a GT coming up in a month. I do understand the field's going to be very heavy Tyranids and Harlequins.
Hmm.
So in theory, maybe my list could still see similar success, and maybe it's just a matter of just practicing better and how I can approach those matchups better to make sure I can get similar success or better results. But there are of course, some things, and we could dive into it if you want
Yeah,
on
of
some
course.
things I'm
Break it down. We
considering.
got all the time.
Yeah, yeah, no. So like for example, like a couple things I'm considering is just like, and please everyone, don't freak out, but I know I was a huge person who went to war and went to bat for the aggressors. Um,
Hmm.
and trust me, I'm not saying they're out of the list immediately. I'm not saying that. However, if I was to make a change right now, I really do feel like another trading unit could go a long way for my army in terms of just a mobile trading unit. Now,
Right.
the one thing I think I actually will miss a ton is the aggressors shooting. It was kind of crazy how this backfield presence that they would have, and people would just look at these three models and be like, "Yeah, I'll put these things over here on the side of the board. You can't really get to me." And then they just shoot 18 plus 3d6 shots, and you're like, "Oh, why am I making like 20 saves for no reason because you spiked some dice?" It's just like,
Yep.
you know what I mean? It's just like that out of nowhere, or they can
You just
advance
get
and shoot.
randomly lit up.
Yeah, that's literally what happened. I remember I took like a bunch of wounds off a harpy at one point. Like I was just like, "Oh, wow, okay, this is weird."
Yeah, I guess I'll take damage for free.
For literally nothing, and them just
Yeah.
screening out this back area. But no, like they're the one thing I think I would maybe look to kind of go away from. And like I mentioned, maybe a unit just as simple as like a 5-man assault marine squad.
Right.
For some reason, I haven't been like a huge fan of Vanguard veterans. I have used them at multiple times throughout the course of the past year
Mhm.
and a half, just like little 5-mans, and even dabbled with the 10-man for to the last play. But what I've learned very quickly about Blood Angel, especially into the current meta, is that to the last doesn't really seem to be a great option at all, if at all.
Doesn't
You know
really
what I mean?
work. Everybody dies.
Yeah. And your whole list has to be expendable. I've learned over the course of time. Like
Yeah.
if you're left with like 1,000 points and you've lost the game, then you have to rethink the approach of the game, in my opinion.
Right. Yep. 100%. Yeah. The Van Vets are good. I find them at their best into something like Blood Angels because into Dark Angels
Right.
because real wounds with the Lightning Claw is obviously super big when they're army wide transhuman.
Yes,
They're they're also super good into Leviathan Nids
they are. Yeah.
as a free upside because obviously Synapse is mega annoying.
Yep.
So the ability to just be like, okay, well, I'm gonna just try again with your
Yeah.
wounds is
Exactly.
really good.
Yeah.
I obviously play very differently. I'm running 21
Yeah.
Sanguinary Guard and 15 Van Vets in my
Nice.
current list.
Right.
Um, but the list that I'm planning to run probably won't survive the mission packet change, where we lose a whole bunch of our starting CP allegedly. Um,
Yeah.
So if it actually works out that they're having our starting CP, my list
Oh,
is in trouble. Like a lot of stuff has to change because now we're battalion gamers. Um,
I'll admit too. I mean, I run the battalion, so I mean, like, and I run the battalion, and I still start with 7 CP before I spend another one to put my Voidsman in reserve. So it's like
yep.
if I'm starting with 3 CP, I actually would have to rethink how I'm also spending these pregame strats, and I would
Oh
actually have
yeah.
to consider a few character changes, which I hate, but if it
Yeah.
means I have the resources to play the game better, it's a must. So
Yeah. I definitely have the upside of taking Dante as my warlord because I love that man.
yeah,
And he is super CP positive because you don't have to spend any relics or warlord traits or anything
right,
on him.
right,
And he gives you a CP. He
yeah.
should really give you two. It's kind of dumb that the
I
guy
don't
that's in
understand
charge of
that.
half
Yeah,
the Imperium gives you one, but Azriel's
yeah.
real smart, so he gives you
Hey,
two.
fingers crossed for when he gets updated. Okay, fingers
Yeah.
crossed.
If they would just Primaris him, I don't
Right.
know why they didn't.
I mean, he is the damn regent of the Imperium Nihilus. Like, come on
Dude,
now.
he's in charge of half the thing.
Yeah, come on now. Come
Yeah.
on.
And he's old and breaking down. He's dying.
Put him on a bike. I don't care. Just
Just do something. Just help that man or let him rest and
and
give
you
us
know
a new
what?
chapter master.
If they made him 250 points, but gave him all the rules that he deserves, he would be in every list of mine. I don't even
Oh,
care.
yeah.
Yeah, make him Mini Gilliman. I don't care. He's in the
Yeah.
list.
Yeah, he should be the baddest man. He killed the
Yeah.
Swarm Lord. Come
Come
on,
on. I
game.
know. Ugh,
If he
terrifying.
actually fights the Swarm Lord in game, he gets fucking destroyed. It's not
Yeah,
even a thing.
you just see him fighting on death every time. It's
Yeah,
just like
exactly. Yeah, that is
uh,
he gets to free fight on death.
yeah, once he's gone. Awesome.
Yeah.
This is fantastic. Remove the model.
Yeah, he is dead though.
He is dead. He is dead. Yeah.
All right, cool. So, that's list changes. Where do you
Yeah.
think Blood Angels are in the meta overall? Like, what do you think? How do you feel about their standing?
Yeah. So I feel like in the meta right now, overall, if I had to maybe give them like a grade, as the Art of War does for like
Yeah.
their tiers,
Hmm.
I definitely would say they're in A in my opinion.
Hmm.
Again, I don't know if that's just because I believe in myself with them, and maybe a lot of
Right.
people aren't finding as much success. Like I know if you were to just jump back into it, I know you would do great with them. So
Yep.
like you would have a different opinion obviously than most, but a lot of people do feel currently down about it, and I think that's just maybe a mindset thing going on because a lot of people I'm hearing are like, oh, they're still B tier. Armor of Contempt wasn't enough. It helps Sanguinary Guard, but that doesn't really help against some of these top armies like the Nids because Mortal Wounds don't care about Armor of Contempt, and then Hail of Doom also doesn't care when you have 33, Dire Avenger shots coming your way, and that's just one squad. So it's like
Right.
I do get it, but I feel like when you're playing the game at a good tempo, it's definitely an A tier faction that can compete with the best of them.
Yeah.
Um, but you have to obviously understand there are limitations to that, and that's why we're obviously not saying A plus in this situation.
Right.
So if I had to give you a rating, I would say A to A minus, even depending on where the current meta is currently taking. But where do you think personally if you had to rank them?
So it really depends on what terrain layout you're playing on.
Oh,
That's how I feel about
it's
them.
everything. It's
I think
everything.
on player placed, they're probably on like the lower side of A. I find that player place is probably at least frontline style player place where the terrain's not very good.
Yeah,
Even when you're replacing it.
yeah,
Um, I think that's probably when they're at their weakest. But
yeah,
on basically any of the WTC layouts, especially the ones with those discs,
yep.
or the GW layout, I think they ring the upper part of A. It's
I agree.
really hard to meaningfully interact with Blood Angels on GW terrain without them just being like, okay, you're dead now afterwards.
Yeah,
Like the Raven Guard guy found out, like, yeah, you
yeah,
get to charge some stuff, but I'm back here, I'm outside an inch of the wall. Like, you can charge these things, and the next turn your whole army's dead. Like,
yeah. Like the way I think about it too, and maybe you can agree with me personally. Anything in power armor, I think Blood Angels actually are currently the top two power armors. Like they win that internal battle of
oh
power armor
yeah.
right now, just because of all the AP, all the extra attacks. Because Raven Guard hitting me was very different than Blood Angels hitting Raven Guard, and we
Oh
found that
yeah.
out in a heartbeat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. It is brutal getting hit. So I played Blood Angels for a long time, and then I played
Right.
Drakari right afterwards, right? And Drakari were the strongest army in the game.
Yeah.
But it was a weird experience because I switched to what was a stronger army. I won more with Drakari than I did with Blood Angels, at least at the time.
Right.
But sometimes in Drakari, you bounce. Like you hit stuff and you're just
You
like,
do.
oh, didn't work.
I guess not. Yeah,
Blood
exactly.
Angels don't do that. Blood Angels
No.
hit things and kill everybody in the zip code. Like everyone
Yeah.
in that quarter of the board is now dead.
Until they're 9 Tyranid warriors as Leviathan. But
Yeah,
anyways.
that just randomly decide that it's not happening today. And
For
that's one of those
250 points. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
that's one of those things
Yeah.
though, right? Like if you had like a 10 block of Van Vets, you would have just
Mhm.
removed those losers like they weren't even there. Like if you had 10 dudes with lightning claws, it's like a 50 attack unit.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, they don't make it. They're just dead.
And actually, thanks for bringing that up. You just reminded me. One thing I was actually debating on changing into my list is, and not because I misplayed it like an idiot, but I was actually debating on actually changing out the psychic powers on my librarian to actually go blood angel powers, which I know is going to sound kind of weird and
They're
kind of
really
strange,
good. I miss
but
Unleash Raged.
they're deceiving, and I have like a combination that I'm just trying to work out right now. So it's not completed yet. I'm just trying to think it through and see if it really means anything. So I won't say stupidity on on a show like this. But the one thing is honestly just to have that librarian with the exploding sixes ability
Yep.
and also the ability to double move. I think getting
Yep.
him in position is kind of crazy. And if like someone has randomly, like I don't know, and this is a really maybe random scenario, but like those 4 servitors that someone keeps in like a back objective. And
Yep.
it's just like, I'm going to put all this pressure on you. But then you have this crazy librarian that's literally moving 24 inches,
Yep.
fighting those servitors. And it's just like, come awkwardly remove my librarian in your
Yeah,
backfield now.
come back here, like all the way
Yeah.
over there. Yeah.
Dedicated a real unit to kill him. Great.
Yeah, even
Like,
better.
even
Yeah,
better. Cool.
yeah, for a
Yeah.
while before it got nerfed, which was real sad that they did this. So
Right.
I used to run a librarian with the Tome of Malkador,
Yes.
and you would
Yes.
play Wings of Sanguinius with Null Zone, and you
Oh,
would cast Null Zone from
yeah.
outside of Deny and
Yep.
like wings into charge range. Ah,
Like,
I miss that
that was,
combo so much.
I played against this Monster Mash Chaos list.
Yep.
And like I can't tell you how many times the game was won because I was just like, all right,
Yeah.
he's chilling right here, right behind Magnus and Morty.
Yep.
And here's the cast. It's good.
Yep.
And here's the extra move. Here we go, kind of thing. And then or sorry, not in that scenario because he'd be too close, but it's just like
Right.
you're basically like just preparing for the worst because it's like if you fail right in front of them,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, this has gone really bad. But if you
Yeah.
do that from a safe point of the board, and then you're able
Yeah.
to move into it afterwards, then
Yep.
it's just like now the whole tempo again is what I think you're really changing there. So it's crazy that you mentioned that because that was like a huge part of a play I had for a long time.
Oh yeah, I love that combo. That thing is
Yeah,
super good. I don't run a librarian in my current list, but that's
yeah,
because I really like Abhor the Witch.
yeah.
Because when I play against Thousand Sons, I want to be able to be like, I'm killing you. That's my secondaries.
Well,
You're gonna die.
and no Wrath of Magnus either, which is huge.
Yeah, which is huge because that secondary hurts. Like
Yeah,
Soul Warden helps, but they're probably still
but
gonna get
they're
it.
still gonna die. I promise you
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So
So I've been. Oh, that's what I wanted to ask you. Why no
yeah,
banner?
yeah. Okay, so people think I'm psycho for this, by the way. I don't know why they
Myself
yeah,
included.
you've been
I
fun of
love
this
that
stuff.
thing.
So for me, like personally, the way I look at Blood Angels because of the way I play them, and again,
Mhm.
if you don't have my play style and you don't have the and again, I'm not trying to give myself more credit than I
No, of
should,
course.
but like there's this patience to my game that I've just developed over time where
Right.
if you don't have it, then you can't really play the game the 5 turns the way I plan to do it. But that's
Right.
okay. Then a banner actually makes more sense if you're playing at a more high tempo pace. So for
Right.
me, because of the way I locate my or position my units within the board, whether it be the GW terrain, whether it be player place the way I want it to place it, so I know exactly the
Right.
measurements of the board and where my staging points are. Then all of a sudden, I don't need the 14 inches to make the movement because the 12 just works for me.
Right.
If that makes sense, you know what I mean. And
Yeah,
then
that totally
factoring
makes sense.
in, so and then for example, if I know that I just need to advance to an area, then it's just like I
Mhm.
just advance and then move minimum 14 anyway because I know I'm not
Right.
actually charging anything because I don't need to.
Right.
That's my
Yeah.
thought process behind it.
Yeah, that's totally fair. If you're setting it up so that your threat range covers the objective anyway, and the 2 inches doesn't make a difference,
Yeah,
I use a lot of the Blood Angels units to remove their assets more than I do to threaten objectives. So having the
makes more
extra
sense.
distance, so if someone tries to basically run away, it's like, you're not getting away from me. I'm coming to you. Like, I will
Yeah,
gladly pin the game on a
yeah,
6 inch charge. That doesn't
yeah.
bother me. That,
No,
like,
no,
to
yeah,
more risk averse people, not great. To me,
right.
let's do it. If I can just break your back with a 6, I have Icon of the Angel and
Yep,
Wrath of Baal.
Breath of
Like,
Ball,
I'm coming
exactly.
to you.
No,
We're
100%.
rolling charges. I'm moving extra inches.
Mhm.
We're coming in.
Yeah,
Um,
and funny enough too is I'm actually debating on bringing the Ancient into my list, but without the
mhm,
Wrath of Ball. Like, yeah, I know, just like to have him in just as another as a different character to bring in
yep.
different possible warlord traits that I need for the meta, different relic that I need. Just
He does
because
a great job
yeah,
of doing because he has the Sanguinary Guard keyword, so he
right.
can 6-inch heroic into an angel sacrifice,
Yep.
which is really rough if you're not ready
It's
for it.
rough if you're not ready for it.
Yeah, because he can
Yeah.
just paint an objective and be like, "This whole objective will get heroic if
Now
you want to engage on it ever."
and now imagine that guy with the Rites of War plus Visage of Death combo, where
Oh
he's just
yeah, totally
heroic,
could do that.
and it's just like that is his objective behind that wall.
Yeah,
You touch it, it's not yours anymore.
yeah, you just lose it.
You just yeah, it's just yeah. So it's just like there are different plays that we can obviously set up, and
Yep,
maybe a lot of people don't have really like the patience to consider, but it's these little nuanced plays that kind of are built into our games, and just like
right,
someone like yourself who's a top player, that to you it's second nature, but I think to others you just have to really come to grips with how are you getting the most value out of these units. So like
right.
for example, like I'm not someone who's like, well, that unit is 200 points, therefore it should kill 200 points. I'm someone
Whoa.
and yeah, I'm someone who's like that unit's 200 points, and let's not even put a true number on it, but how many points on the scoreboard is that 200 points
Yep,
going to earn me? For example,
yeah,
it can they really earn me? And maybe I'm currently doing bad math right now, but can that 200 points get me 10 to 12 points in this game? How
right.
can they do it? And they've done their job, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. I've always looked at so in Blood Angels, you're never ever trading points for points. If that was
Correct.
how the game worked, Blood Angels would be not great because
Correct.
that's like
Yep.
it's really hard to clip value over value like that.
100%.
What you're trading is points for victory points, like you said, where
Yeah.
it's like, all right, what does this play do? Like, does it remove enough of their points, victory, uh, or get me enough? Because like pretty often, even playing very aggressively as I do,
Right.
I'm not always looking at the score as like a binary I need to score. I'm
Yep.
looking at the swing. So like
Yes.
it's like,
Yes.
does this give them a 0 on primary and take down 2 banners and score me strangle? Then we'll
Yeah.
do that.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's worth it.
like
A
like
bunch of people can die to make that
yeah.
play happen.
And it's actually crazy too. Sometimes I Forlorn Fury, and I kill someone that's like technically nothing of value, like
Right.
literally, and people are just like why did he kill these like 10 Kroot?
Yeah.
And I'm like, because I established that those Kroot were your only obsec on your side of the board, and if I can kill those Kroot, I dictate all the scoring for the rest of this game. From
Yeah.
my one captain stringing models out, I can deny you primary as I choose. You can't deny me as you would like to, unless you're coming behind these walls to kill me. And that's just
Yep.
one example of like the Death Company. They went in, they removed a threat, they maybe got 4 relentless assault points in the process,
Yep.
and they died.
Yep. Whatever.
160 points well spent. I don't care. Perfect.
Yeah, I had a game the other day where I sent the Death Company forward into Tau, and I
Yeah,
killed 2 units of Kroot and 3 Kroot hounds, and the last one ran. And it was
yeah.
like, okay, now you have no trash
In
at
my
all.
opinion, you win that game now. There's like I
Yeah,
don't think there's a way for the top player to come back now.
right, because he has to hold objectives with crisis units, which is like, what?
You throw your commander over there. Go throw an ethereal in your backfield, and
Yeah,
it's like I'll see them soon.
yeah, I'll go say hi to him in a minute with Dante.
Yeah, exactly.
That Dante
Yeah,
can kill. Dante kills the shit
yeah,
out
he
of an
can kill an
ethereal.
ethereal. This is sad. Oh my god, breaking my heart here, but
Poor Dante,
oh,
dude.
poor Dante, man. Oh my god, I love that
Dante,
guy.
just give Dante Drazar's Warlord trade, and then we can talk.
Now we can talk. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh man. Actually,
easy.
speaking of named characters, and I know we got a bit of time here, so
Yeah.
a character that I'm not even joking, I'm debating on bringing into the list is a librarian dreadnought.
Oh, I miss them so much. My librarian
Yeah,
dreadnought. So I talk all the
yeah,
time about how my Drazar is like my king, right? Drazar was
right,
like my favorite model.
right.
But the actual model that I've had kill more points of an opponent's army than anything is a librarian dreadnought. I had a librarian dreadnought by
Yeah,
himself take down 1,500 points of a knight army. Um,
yeah. He's an animal. He's an
dude, he
animal, and
used to be such a beast.
man, and the reason why I'm considering him is because of the resurgence or potential resurgence of knights and all these big
Yep.
bugs. So
Yeah.
if out of nowhere the meta currently shifts, and this is kind of can go into a meta talk now, is
Yep.
like if this shifts into a Nids world with chaos and Imperial Knights roaming the field and Harlequins and possibly Eldar take a little bit of a back seat again,
Right.
who knows how it's going to fully shape up, especially with points changes coming in the next I want to say 2 months or whatnot.
Yeah,
But
something like that.
it's like at that point, he has a really viable option to be put into this list
Yeah,
because he has it's what is it, 4 text based, and it's like shock assault, savage echoes. He
yeah.
can literally have D3 extra attacks, and he can have exploding sixes. So it's
I,
just like all of a sudden, this guy
yeah,
can really hold his own in combat.
I think he picks up like an extra attack with the halberd now as
And
well,
he
right?
does exactly, yeah.
That chainsword wording. Yeah.
Yep, not including that one either. So it's just like, and those are thunder hammers. Like he's not just
Oh yeah, he hits the shit out of you. That guy
yeah,
hurts.
at strength 14, it's like, come on, he's wounding most things in the game on twos unless you have transhuman built in. So, sorry,
Lots of stuff does.
Leviathan sucks, obviously, but
Yeah,
he was just like, he's something that is just like a put him on the back burner. He's not a something you just throw into a list, but something
yeah,
to definitely keep in mind for people that might be considering him.
yeah. And he's neg 4 in assault doctrine,
Yeah,
uh, which hurts
yeah,
just so much. And he has the character keyword, so you can
exactly.
put him in assault doctrine with a priest, which is hilarious.
And do we mention that he flies?
Yeah, yeah. The Wings of Sanguinius man is
Yeah,
very
pretty
funny.
sweet.
He
Oh,
moves
it's
what,
sweet.
18 then, right?
Yeah, I think so. So
Because
it's
it's 6
pretty
base. Yeah.
pretty good. Reroll your charges. Why not for that psychic
Oh
armor?
yeah,
I
because
mean,
he gets the power off.
yeah, not too bad. D3 extra attacks, so
Yeah, he is also
definitely
not
cool.
trivial to kill because he's T7 with 8 wounds and -1
-1
damage.
damage.
Yeah,
Exactly.
which is like, it's
The only
annoying.
thing the only thing that I wish he had was a 2-up save, personally. And I think that
Yeah,
would actually maybe push him over, like, into the let's actually try him out mode. But
yeah.
um, you know,
Mephiston almost gets there
yeah,
too for similar reasons
that's what I was thinking about.
because he has the 2-up, right? Mephi's on the
He
nat
does have the
2-up,
2-up.
and
You
he's a
have the 5-up
built-in
Feel No Pain.
pain. Yep.
Yep, 6
What
wounds. He's Primaris, so you can transhuman.
what's he like offensively these days? It's been a minute since I looked at his
Yeah,
profile. Pulling him up
offensively,
real quick.
and I hope I'm not mistaken by this. I think he's 5 attacks base. Shock assault, savage echoes, and then he can also get the whole D3 extra attacks with exploding sixes if you again casted both
Mhm.
those powers on him.
Right. And
Um,
he's plus on a cast, right?
he actually is not, and it bothers the heck out of me.
Oh, that's brutal.
He is the chief librarian of the Blood Angels, and I don't want to get into some fluffy lore debates right now, but man, it breaks my soul when you hear him killing the Keeper of Secrets. Sorry, spoiler alert for those who
Yeah,
haven't,
red
seen things
darkness.
with his mind, and
Yeah, he
then
doesn't stab it. He blows that thing apart
he
with
blows
his.
the damn thing.
Yeah,
And then he touches the tabletop, and that Keeper of Secrets laughs at him, and then proceeds to pick him up, and it's just
yeah.
like, wow,
Denies his spell.
yeah, denies the
Punches him in
spell.
the face.
You can't charge her because she's -1 attack, so you're
Yeah,
like,
you're
oh,
like,
there on
please.
the left attack. So yeah, it's interesting. But you know what though? Like kind of just like summarizing like Blood Angels in general, like you can have a lot of fun with them.
Yep.
And again, I guess just to kind of put a stamp on like the final verdict for them is they have so much flexibility in how you can build them and how you can play them. You and I are literally we can see eye to eye about so many decisions, but at the end of the day, we're gonna play them 2 different ways, but they can both be successful. Is my point.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean?
You have a
Which
lot
is
of
huge.
play style versatility. I don't think they have the most unit diversity in the world because
I agree.
but part of that is just that like Sanguinary Guard are so good that
Yeah.
you want a bunch of them. And I think
Mhm.
that's fine, right? Like it's not a downside of the codex to have a really powerful unit that you want a bunch of. That's a good thing.
Good thing.
Even if there's not a ton of like unit specific build diversity, there's a lot of like as an example, I don't use that captain you use at all. And he's like an
Yeah.
instrumental part of your game plan that entirely
Oh
changes
yeah.
how you play.
Yeah.
Whereas I have like Dante, who's just kind of there doing stuff. He's just like an extra beat stick for me.
Right.
But yeah, like even down to like our sanguinary priest, like yours is a chief apothecary, right?
Yeah.
And he has Teeth of Terra. Mine has neither of those and has Icon of the
I know
Angel.
the angel.
Yeah, and he just like is a angel sacrifice guy. I just throw him on the pyre of points, and he goes out there and dies, so Sanguinary Guard don't have to.
Exactly.
And if I need to spend the CP to Resia, I will.
Right.
That might change over time now that we're tankier. That is definitely old list tech that I might change. Because
Yeah.
I had him without Chief Apothecary, because I was like, if someone targets a unit, it's dead.
Yeah.
I'm
But
not
now-
going to res anything. But that's not true anymore.
No, it's
So
not.
I've definitely been having to spend the CP on the res and been like, every time I have
Yep.
to do it. So we'll see.
And
Points
people
of
just undercommit sometimes, right? So it's just
Dude,
like
yeah.
all the time. Like all the
It's
time.
so easy to be wrong into Sanguinary Guard now.
Yes.
Because you're like, I have, AP2 melee, damage 2. That's like literally Tyranid Warrior melee. You're like, it'll be fine. And it's like, yeah, so you're -1 to hit, and I'm taking 3-ups, and I have a 6-up Feel No Pain. And it's like,
Right.
ah,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, well, that's unfortunate. And oh, sorry, you had a feel no pain?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. All right.
okay,
Yeah,
alrighty.
exactly. It's just it's the same thing. Honestly, like because I've been playing Tyranids, it's the same thing that people do with warriors. Like I put the inland on them,
Yep,
I put the feel no pain on them. It's like, oh, they have 3 wounds.
yep,
Ah, it's really awkward to get rid of these now.
yep. God,
Um,
God forbid it's in combat, -1 damage.
right, yeah. If you have the CP for the damage minus, it's like,
This is ugly.
definitely,
Yeah,
yeah, definitely awkward to handle. But all right,
yeah.
man. Thanks for coming on. I'm glad
Oh, of
we
course.
did
Thanks for
this. I
having me
had a
on.
great time.
You too.
Any closing remarks? Anything you want to plug on the way out?
Yeah, no, I mean, I plug things early on, but I did want to just say, thanks again for having me on. This is
Of
obviously
course.
a great channel, so definitely everyone should tune into other things that you guys do. Coming up, I have a couple of events that I'm going to be trying maybe to make a couple of tweaks from the last 500. You and I'll be talking about them offline. But yeah, no, in general, pleasure to meet you as well. For those of
Of
you who
course.
haven't seen what Anthony can do, definitely check it out. This guy's an animal on the table, so full respect there. Oh yeah. But no, otherwise, just yeah, thanks so much for having me on. It's an absolute pleasure.
Awesome. All right, guys, we're heading out. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, do all the YouTube shill stuff that I'm supposed to do. Press the buttons down there. Have a good one.